Alright guys, so I got this really cool story to tell you. You wouldn't believe what happened to me the other day. So, I was going to my friend's house. We were going to work on a project or something, whatever. But I went to Big Al's first to get pizza or a soda, to get a soda. So I went to Big Al's to get a soda, and as I was walking to the Big Al's, I saw this really pregnant lady, like really about to burst, like, I'm like, alright, whatever, I'll let you do your thing. So I'm reaching in to get in the freezer to grab a drink. And all of a sudden I hear a loud scream. I was like, ah! So I was like, what the heck is going on over there? So as I look behind me, I see literally a gun, someone with a gun pointed to the clerk's head. So at this point, I'm like, holy crap, what the heck am I going to do? So I'm in like fight or flight mode right here. Am I going to fight this guy, or am I just going to stand in the corner? So then all of a sudden he turns around and he says, everybody be quiet. So I'm like, all right, if you want me to be quiet, I'll be quiet. So then he jumps. He jumps over the counter. He literally knocks the clerk out and then steals all the money and books it. While he's booking it, you remember that pregnant lady I was talking about the other before? She starts hyperventilating, literally. So I didn't know what to do. I'm like, all right. So I finally called 911. I was like, guys, there's a pregnant lady about to hyperventilate, and we just got robbed. So then I help the pregnant lady. And finally, the cops came.
All right. So I want to tell you guys a story. So the other day, I was going to meet my friends, and I decided to stop at Big Al's to get a drink because I was thirsty. And so I'm walking to the back, you know, I notice this pregnant lady, like very, very pregnant lady, enough well I notice that she's pregnant. And I get to the back, I'm looking through the sodas, trying to figure out what I want to get. And all of a sudden I hear this loud noise at the front, and I look, and there's this guy holding a gun to the cashier's head. So I was like, okay, what do I do? I kind of just freeze like everyone else in the store. And all of a sudden he starts screaming, get down, get down, get down. And so everyone does, and then he takes the money in the cash register, and then he runs out of the store. So meanwhile, this pregnant lady starts hyperventilating, she falls over, so I run over to her, and I call the cops, call 911 to get them over.
Alright, so I'd like to tell you a story about what happened to me the other day. I was going to my friend's house, and I was pretty thirsty, so I went to grab a soda first. I went to Big Al's, and I walked back to the cooler section, and I was walking towards the soda, and I saw this pregnant woman, and she looked like maybe she would be due any day now. So kept on walking, got to the coolers, went to reach in for a soda, and all of a sudden I heard a scream, and I turned around and I looked at the front of the room, and there was a gunman, and he had a gun pointed to the clerk's head, and next thing I knew, the gunman turned around and he looked at all of us and he said, be quiet, and I was terrified. So he jumped over the counter, knocked out the clerk, grabbed all the money, and ran out. And the poor pregnant woman beside me was hyperventilating, and I walked over to her and I called 911, and I was hoping everything would be okay.
Okay, so you just heard the same story 3 times from 3 different people, but you were probably engaged a little bit differently in each one. Why? Because of the way that they were telling the story and because of their body language. Us as future clinicians working with people, we know that nonverbal communication is just as important as verbal communication. It's how humans connect, it's how we can disconnect, and it's how we build that rapport with our patients that's also important to their overall health. And so now we're going to talk about a couple positive and negative aspects of each story and the way that everybody told their story. This being said, we'll talk about Linda first. So somebody shout out to me something that they noticed about Linda and the way she was telling her story.
Calm.
She was calm, good. So like some positive things. She was calm, she was relaxed, she was conversational, and this sort of body language can make a patient feel more at ease. It's pretty informal. Some negative things that she might have done, she maybe looked a little bit bored. She was chewing gum, and she was also looking at the clock a lot. Anyone else notice that? Right. So studies actually show that humans are very in tune with the gaze of others, and we're able to follow and target someone's gaze with great accuracy. It's actually an automatic response. It's really difficult to suppress, and it tells a lot about intentions and interests. And so by Linda continuously looking at the clock, she's telling you guys or her patients that, you know, it's the end of the day, she's bored, she's ready to go home, and, you know, she's got other things in her mind. The patient might feel rushed, they might feel like some sort of burden to her as their healthcare provider, and so it's really not what we want our patients to feel. And so a couple ways that we can fix this, because I know that not only Linda, but I've done it, you know what I mean? I'm ready to go home, it's 4:30, it's the end of the day. But if you turn and face your body and force yourself to look directly into their eyes, this can really engage you into the conversation and kind of force you to be more present, and it can allow you to be more focused on them.
Okay, so now for Kate, what did you guys notice about the way Kate gave her story?
She was more like shy.
Yeah, exactly. She was kind of timid and shy. She was standing behind the computer screen, talking very quietly, had a little bit of a slouch posture. She also did talk nice and calm and slowly, and she smiled, and so kind of she was like friendly and conversational, so which is good, which with what you want to build with your patient. But at the same time, if you're a patient, yeah, your therapist could be your best friend, but you want them to be confident in you as well. And she may not have come across that confident. So what can Kate do to fix this? Well, studies have been done where people will put on a power position, power pose, before they go into an interview. So they'll have, stand up straight, hands in their hips, hands above their heads, just like seated back like this, like an Oprah up there. And they actually perform better in the interviews and are more likely to get hired. So we can translate this into when treating our patients. Kate could do something like this before going into that treatment session or going to that evaluation, and she'll appear more confident and her patient will be more confident in her. So taking away from this, my challenge to you guys would be next time you're going into a practical setting, a test, a social setting, makes you a little nervous, just take the time, step out, go into the bathroom, do a little power pose, Oprah, and you're guaranteed to do better in that situation.
All right, some things about Teresa. She came off, she was energetic, she made you put a smile on your face, made you laugh, she was engaging, and she was fun to be around. So this is important to have this type of conversational attitudes with a patient when you're trying to motivate them if they've had a bad day. But some of the things that she didn't do as well and maybe made you unable to focus. Can someone give me an example?
She smacked the table.
Good. Okay, so she used big hand gestures, she used a lot of ums and likes, and her story kind of went all around the board, and she was talking with her hands a lot. So this makes it kind of hard to follow her story. So in order to fix these things and for Teresa to better communicate with her patients in the clinic, she can slow down, she can simplify her words, and she can use pauses instead of using those ums and likes. So a big part about conversation, a big part about initial evals is to let the patient talk. And Teresa did a lot of that in this one. So they did a study, and it showed that physical therapists talk more in initial evals than patients. But the research behind it is that if a physical therapist sits back, listens to the patient, and talks, if you will, with their nonverbals, shows that they're engaged, shows they're interested, the patient will give more information and elaborate. So kind of backfires that. Usually we're scared to sit back and listen because we're afraid of silences. We're afraid that we might come off as less confident or less knowledgeable. So ultimately the patient's the one that's going to tell you how to fix them and what their problem is, so it's really important that we look at their nonverbals and listen. So if you're after you've completed all your tests and measures and you're about to tell the patient your findings and your diagnosis, take a moment to pause. Collect your thoughts. Once you're settled, once you have a plan, tell the patient in a delivery manner where it's concise and it's consistent and you know exactly what you're going to tell them. This avoids information overload and you're more confident in your answers. So once you give them all your information, take a moment to pause again and look for nonverbal communication from your patient. See what motions they're feeling on their face. Check for understanding. And ultimately, nonverbals say more than verbals. So really, that's the goal of our presentation, is really look for those nonverbal signs in their faces. So I challenge you all, next time you're talking with a friend, next time you're treating a future patient, sit back and listen. Check for verbal understanding and nonverbal understanding, and let them do the talking, because sometimes silence is the best answer.
What we want you to take away from all of this overall is that to be aware and be conscious of your own body language. Be aware of it when you're talking with your peers, your friends, your professors, when you're giving it in service, and especially when we're with our patients. Our patients can read our body language. They're there and they're watching you and they want to trust you. So when we're in an initial eval, it's also important to be aware of their body language. If we're in an eval and they're telling us a history and they're really engaged and excited and telling you a story and maybe leaned in the chair, you lean in too. You show interest too. But on the opposite side, if they're leaned back a little bit and more reserved, then don't overburden them by leaning forward and kind of, over-stimulating them that way. Lean back a little bit, but also show a little confidence. So patient compliance goes up and your relationship goes up if you have that verbal and nonverbal communication with your patients, so nothing gets misinterpreted. So what I all want you to do right now is stand up and let me see your power pose with you again. Great. Good job. Good power pose.